there's a standard in the United States as it relates to administrative law called arbitrary and capricious behavior by the administrator. And so the administrator in this case would be the SEC. And so the DC Circuit ruled in the Grayscale case that Garry Gensler and his team were quote unquote arbitrary and capricious in rejecting the Grayscale Bitcoin application. And so that was done knowing that they were arbitrary and capricious. There's very smart people. Garry went to law school. He took administrative law. And so there's a bug in the system. And I believe the bug in the system is Elizabeth Warren. And to take you back to 2020, Elizabeth Warren basically dropped out of the primary. And she basically cut a deal with the Biden administration to effectively be the president for financial services. And so she picked Janet Yellen, she picked Garry, and she hates this industry in a way that you can't possibly imagine. And her minions are going to do everything they can to block things in this industry. So.
Alrighty, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another CYPRX video banger. In today's video, this video breakdown that we're about to share with you guys via some video compilations that we pieced together is going to clearly show you all what is projected to the masses to shake them out of the digital asset space, and then give you guys insightful information via video clips from systemically important individuals that operate in the Web3 ecosystem via large organizations that are helping build this space that will never make the mainstream. So make sure that you all are paying attention to detail, showing you guys what the mainstream media is showing you all, and then showing you guys a detailistic perspective of things that they will never bring to light. As always, if you enjoy these video breakdowns, do us a favor, smash the thumbs up button and subscribe to the platform so that way you don't miss out on any further video breakdowns. So the first series of video clips that we're going to share with you all is Jamie Dimon on a public media outlet sharing his personal opinion about Bitcoin. And then we're going to get into a panelist discussing and talking about how you can pick up the phone and confirm through JP Morgan that they offer their clients the ability to access Bitcoin. It's just hilarious what's being portrayed to the mainstream media and then what is not. Take a second and listen.
I've always been deeply opposed to crypto, Bitcoin, etc. You pointed out the only true use case for it is criminals, drug traffickers, anti-money laundering, tax avoidance, and that is a use case because it is somewhat anonymous, not fully, and because you can move money instantaneously, and because it doesn't go through, as you mentioned, all these systems that have built up over many years, know your customers, sanctions, OFAC, they can get bypass all of that. If I was the government, I'd close it down.
Okay. And they're seeing that. Now, last point I'll make is that I called JP Morgan. That's Jamie Dimon. JP Morgan crypto is a pet rock. It's a Ponzi scheme.
Not my cup of tea.
Yeah, we should shut it down. If I was the government, we would shut it down. These are direct quotes from Jamie Dimon, JP Morgan. And I asked the private banker there, can I put IBIT, which is the BlackRock shares, in my personal account? And they got back to me and said they're accepting orders on a non-solicited basis. So if you call there and you ask them to buy it for you, they will. I don't think people understand how seismic that is. I don't think people understand the opportunity. Last point.
Now, those of you all that do pay attention to what's trending on X and what's trending on the mainstream media, this video of Garry Gensler today on again, mainstream media outlet was him talking about how investors should be cautious because Bitcoin is one heck of a roller coaster ride and the foundation might not be stable.
This is a highly speculative asset class. One could just look at the volatility of Bitcoin in the last few days. And look, I grew up loving roller coasters. Maybe in my adult years I don't ride them as much, but you really should be conscious as the investing public that this is a bit of a roller coaster ride on these volatile assets. And then the question is how firm is the foundation of the, you get to the top of that hill, how's the foundation underneath it? This is
Yet here I present a document directly from BlackRock, again, an organization that used to have a negative viewpoint on the entire digital asset space and particularly Bitcoin as a whole, a updated document where they go on to confirm that this is a massively historic moment. So just take that into consideration as we go throughout the entirety of this video breakdown. BlackRock, one of the largest financial institutions in the world, is telling you all that this is a historic moment, Yet Garry Gensler is telling you guys to avoid this space because it's super volatile, the foundation isn't laid properly, and Bitcoin is a roller coaster. The next series of video clips we're going to get into is Elizabeth Warren going on to say that cryptocurrency is used for illicit market purposes. This is what the mainstream narrative is going to tout to you all. However, I'm going to show you a series of reputable individuals speaking on panel discussions that will never make the mainstream, confirming that illicit activity barely even scratches the surface of the entire digital asset ecosystem, and that the predominant use for illicit market purposes is actually transacted in cash. Take a second and listen.
There's a new threat out there. It's crypto, and it is being used for terrorist financing. It is being used for drug trafficking. North Korea is using it to pay for about half of its nuclear weapons program.
Is there any counter perspective that you can give? Because I'm pretty sure like 98% of money laundering is still done in cash. Like very, very little actually happens in cryptocurrency. I mean, unmarked bills from US dollars traveling all around the world is the best way to launder anything versus...
Yeah, it is, I think, between 3 and 5% of illicit financing is in fiat, and 3 to 5% of fiat is used for illicit purposes, whereas it's a fraction of a percent for crypto. But I think the context here is that kind of what we were talking about a little bit off microphone, which I'll repeat a little bit, is...
The comment, though, I disagree with Matt, is that the majority of this technology is being used for nefarious purposes. That's just simply not true. We have loads and loads and years worth of data that demonstrate that that's not the case. Something like 1% or less than a percent of on-chain transactions is deemed to have any kind of illicit element attached to it.
And then add to that the fraud factor, which started in early 2013 or 2012, which was kind of a bad reputation. But in reality, if you look now, the fraud has kind of winded down a lot, because who wants to transact and then get his transaction identified for fraud? So now you can technically be tracked. I would have loved the system to be adopted more, but if I was a fraudster, I wouldn't do it on a blockchain.
The money used in offshore crypto exchanges internationally to fund terrorist organizations in the Middle East is a fraction of a percent. It is at best marginal. And what we're seeing from policymakers now, crypto skeptic policymakers, the most obvious one in the United States is Senator Elizabeth Warren, is an opportunistic attack on the industry. She has certain bills that she has been pushing, and those bills were dying, were not having much momentum. And following these attacks, she shifted her attention from Energy FUD right to Terra Nexus FUD to sort of opportunistically take advantage of that momentum. And so we are doing our best to combat that.
So what are some of the lawmakers trying to accomplish through this misinformation? Because I was listening to a regulator recently speak, and the concern there is, well, we don't have enough control, right? Like, it's not regulated enough, it's decentralized. We're now going to assert ourselves into this jurisdiction because of the fact that there's not enough regulation in some aspects of it. So it seems more of wanting to maintain a level of control over things as opposed to wanting to allow this decentralized ecosystem to just kind of naturally thrive or see where it goes.
I think you're spot on there.
The number one thing about Web3 is it allows for censorship-resistant things, censorship-resistant money, censorship-resistant data, censorship-resistant software. The idea of taking large language models and putting them on a blockchain so nobody can deny access to them, to anybody, to a bad person or a good person, is such a powerful idea. That is why this technology is so important, and it's why it scares the fuck out of the government. That's why the government's trying to kill this industry here in the United States right now, because they're scared to death of it.
Can I just make one point? There's been a broad push within DC around...
So again, you all can clearly see the narrative that is being pushed to the mainstream masses, and then what information is being subdued, what information is never going to make the mainstream, which is why here at CYPRX we ask that you do us a favor, smash that thumbs up button, subscribe to the platform so that way these video breakdowns get pushed out to more like-minded individuals like yourselves who actually want valuable information to stay ahead of what's being projected to the masses. I cannot stress enough, now is the time to do your research and not get fudded out by these mainstream news fundamentalists talking about how bad crypto is and how illicitly it is used and all of this bullcrap Again, that is a distraction to shake you out. Now, let me show you why I think that is. We are on the verge of living through, actually, as a matter of fact, we are living through the birth of a new asset class.
You just don't really witness the burst of an asset class very often. And as I said, these books are extremely thin.
It is not every single cycle or generation that gets to experience this. This is an absolute monumental, like the BlackRock PDF said, moment in history that, in my personal opinion, individuals in the now, i.e. manual retail investors, should be taking advantage of. I'm not telling you guys to go out there and directly invest in digital assets. There are so many opportunities via the Web3 ecosystem to dabble into. It is not just digital assets. It's artificial intelligence. It's stable coins. It's cryptocurrency. It's the metaverse. There's so many opportunities ahead. You just need to do your research. Now, listen to this gentleman that was on Raoul Paul's podcast discussing and talking about how early we are and how barely any large organizations right now have capital allocated to the digital asset space.
What happens is that debt just very slowly sits in the traditional world and devalues versus everything in the digital world. And so you have the digital asset ecosystem that's debt free. And so it's a pure market, it's clean. This right now is the beginning of the normie traditional corporate world adoption of Web3, blockchain, crypto, digital assets, whatever you want to call it, it's happening now. At the end of the last bear phase, we didn't have hundreds of companies like trying to figure out how to like incorporate NFTs into their business model. Now you've got Adidas and LVMH and Nike and all these giant companies on that end. You've got Franklin Templeton and Fidelity and BlackRock. I mean, the buying hasn't happened yet, but they put down their stake and they've said to the people in Washington, listen, we control trillions of dollars of assets. Okay, we want an ETF. All right, so that's great, but that's just a conduit for capital. Can you imagine what's going to happen when the people at those institutions understand that that is just the very beginning of what's so interesting about this world, right?
So take that into consideration. We are extremely early. And in my personal opinion, why there is a war against the digital asset space is because these individuals whom I showed you video clips of in today's video that make the mainstream, they know what is about to happen. They don't want manual retail investors like us involved experiencing life-changing wealth. This is an absolute monumental moment in history. So in today's video breakdown, we covered what the mainstream is projecting to the masses via Jamie Dimon, via Garry Gensler, via Elizabeth Warren. And then they also went into a detailistic perspective explaining to you all that governments want control over this ecosystem and why governmental entities overall are afraid of this new ecosystem that they are building, again, behind the scenes. I cannot stress enough that right now we are witnessing a massive opportunity.
So what kind of, how are you and others helping get this messaging to policymakers, helping people understand the actual value this industry brings and how it supports, it supports everything, jobs, economy, growth. There's so many benefits to this. How is it that you guys are helping to get that messaging out there?
Bitcoin and other digital assets has an incredible advantage, which is that they can be applied to so many aspects of life. They touch on so many different policy issues, right? Energy, privacy, consumer protection, how to send money overseas, national security. You pick it and you can probably find some sort of nexus between digital assets and that issue.
And those individuals, again, in my personal opinion, that don't take advantage will get left behind. So with that being said, make sure that you all are doing research. Go back and watch some of our previous video breakdowns. If you're new here, do us a favor, smash that thumbs up button, subscribe to the platform. We do appreciate the love and the support, always attempting to bring you guys the realest information. The vast amount of these video clips that I shared with you all today, they're on YouTube, people. But guess what? They have 20 views, 40 views, 100 views max. Nobody is paying attention to this information, yet here at CYPRX, we're always attempting to drive the realest info straight to you. As always, many blessings. I will see you guys in the next video breakdown.